this is my 60th annual meeting, and the time has arrived where Greg should become the chief executive officer of the company at year end, and I want to spring that on the directors effectively and give that as my recommendation.
What do I have to do to become your successor?
Probably shoot me.
At Berkshire Hathaway's investor conference on May 3, 2025, Buffett requested that the board appoint Greg Abel to succeed him as the company's chief executive officer by the year's end, whilst remaining chairman. Warren Edward Buffett, born August 30, 1930, is an American investor and philanthropist who currently serves as the chairman and CEO of the conglomerate holding company Berkshire Hathaway. As a result of his investment success, Buffett is one of the best-known investors in the world. According to Forbes, as of May 2025, Buffett's estimated net worth stood at $159.7 billion United States dollars, making him the sixth richest individual in the world. Buffett was born in Omaha, Nebraska. The son of U.S. Congressman and businessman Howard Buffett. He developed an interest in business and investing during his youth. He entered the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania in 1947 before graduating from the University of Nebraska at 20. He went on to graduate from Columbia Business School. Where he molded his investment philosophy around the concept of value investing pioneered by Benjamin Graham.
And I must say frankly that our studies indicate that you have your choice between tossing coins and taking the consensus of expert opinion. And the results are just about the same in each case.
He attended New York Institute of Finance to focus on his economics background and soon pursued a business career. He later began various business ventures and investment partnerships, including one with Graham. He created Buffett Partnership Limited in 1956, and his investment firm eventually acquired a textile manufacturing firm, Berkshire Hathaway, assuming its name to create a diversified holding company. Buffett emerged as the company's chairman and majority shareholder in 1970. In 1978, fellow investor and longtime business associate Charlie Munger joined Buffett as vice chairman. Since 1970, Buffett has presided as the chairman and largest shareholder of Berkshire Hathaway, one of America's foremost holding companies and world's leading corporate conglomerates. He has been referred to as the Oracle or Sage of Omaha by global media as a result of having accumulated a massive fortune derived from his business and investment success. He is noted for his adherence to the principles of value investing and his frugality despite his wealth. Buffett has pledged to give away 99% of his fortune to philanthropic causes, primarily via the Gates Foundation. He founded the Giving Pledge in 2010 with Bill Gates, whereby billionaires pledge to give away at least half of their fortunes. Buffett was born on August 30th, 1930, in Omaha, Nebraska. As the second of 3 children and the only son of Layla, née Stahl, and Congressman Howard Buffett. He began his education at Rose Hill Elementary School. In 1942, his father was elected to the first of 4 terms in the United States Congress. And after moving with his family to Washington, D.C., Warren finished elementary school. Attended Alice Deal Junior High School, and graduated from what was then Woodrow Wilson High School in 1947, where his senior yearbook picture reads, "Likes math, a future stockbroker." After finishing high school and finding success with his side entrepreneurial and investment ventures, Buffett wanted to skip college to go directly into business, but was overruled by his father. Buffett showcased an interest in business and investing at a young age. He was inspired by a book he borrowed from the Omaha Public Library at age 7, 1,000 Ways to Make $1,000. Much of Buffett's early childhood years were enlivened with entrepreneurial ventures. In one of his first business ventures, Buffett sold chewing gum, Coca-Cola, and weekly magazines door to door. He worked in his grandfather's grocery store. While still in high school, he made money delivering newspapers, selling golf balls and stamps, and detailing cars, among other means.
Morning Star. Paper, mister?
On his first income tax return in 1944, Buffett took a $35 deduction for the use of his bicycle and watch on his paper route. In 1945, as a high school sophomore, Buffett and a friend spent $25 to purchase a used pinball machine, which they placed in the local barber shop. Within months, they owned several machines in 3 different barber shops across Omaha. They later sold the business to a war veteran for $1,200. Investor Benjamin Graham was a major influential figure on the young Warren Buffett. Buffett's interest in the stock market and investing dated back to his schoolboy days spent in the customer's lounge of a regional stock brokerage near his father's own brokerage office. His father took interest in cultivating and educating the young Warren's curiosity surrounding the subject of business and investing, even at one point taking him to visit the New York Stock Exchange when he was 10. At 11, he bought 3 shares of Citi Service Preferred for himself, and 3 for his sister Doris Buffett, who also became a philanthropist. At 15, Warren made more than $175 monthly delivering Washington Post newspapers. In high school, he invested in a business owned by his father and bought a 40-acre farm worked by a tenant farmer. He bought the land when he was 14 years old with $1,200 of his savings. By the time he finished college, Buffett had amassed $9,800 in savings, about $130,000 today. In 1947, Buffett matriculated at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. He would have preferred to focus on his business ventures, but enrolled due to pressure from his father. Warren studied there for 2 years and joined the Alpha Sigma Phi fraternity. He then transferred to the University of Nebraska, where he graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in 1951. After being rejected by Harvard Business School in the spring of 1950, Buffett enrolled at Columbia Business School of Columbia University upon learning that Benjamin Graham taught there. He earned a Master of Science in Economics from Columbia in 1951. After graduating, Buffett attended the New York Institute of Finance.
The basic ideas of investing are to look at stocks as business, use the market's fluctuations to your advantage, and seek a margin of safety. That's what Ben Graham taught us. 100 years from now, they will still be the cornerstones of investing.
Warren Buffett.
Buffett worked from 1951 to 1954 at his father's firm, Buffett Falk and Company, as an investment salesman. From 1954 to 1956 at Graham Newman Corp. as a securities analyst. From 1956 to 1969 at several investment partnerships as the general partner. And from 1970 as chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, Inc. In 1951, Buffett discovered that Graham was on the board of Geico Insurance. Taking a train to Washington, D.C. on a Saturday, he knocked on the door of Geico's headquarters until a janitor admitted him. There he met Lorimer Davidson, Geico's vice president, and the two discussed the insurance business for hours. And Buffett made his first purchase of Geico stock. Davidson would eventually become Buffett's lifelong friend and a lasting influence, and would later recall that he found Buffett to be an extraordinary man after only 15 minutes. Buffett wanted to work on Wall Street, but both his father and Ben Graham urged him not to. He offered to work for Graham for free, but Graham refused. Buffett returned to Omaha and worked as a stockbroker while taking a Dale Carnegie public speaking course. Using what he learned, he felt confident enough to teach an investment principles night class at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. The average age of his students was more than twice his own. During this time, he also purchased a Sinclair gas station as a side investment, but it was unsuccessful. In 1954, Buffett accepted a job at Benjamin Graham's partnership. His starting salary was $12,000 a year, about $141,000 today. There he worked closely with Walter Schloss. Graham was adamant that stock picks should provide a wide margin of safety after weighing the trade-off between their price and their intrinsic value. In 1956, Benjamin Graham retired and closed his partnership. At this time, Buffett, who had amassed personal savings over $174,000, about $2.01 million today, decided to return to Omaha, where he would quickly start a series of investment partnerships. In 1957, Buffett operated 3 investment partnerships. By 1959, the total had grown to 6 partnerships. That summer, Buffett was introduced to his future partner, Charlie Munger, during a business luncheon at the Omaha Club. In 1961, Buffett revealed that 35% of the partnership's assets were invested in the Sanborn Map Company. He explained that Sanborn stocks sold for only $45 per share in 1958, but the company's investment portfolio was worth $65 per share. This meant that Sanborn's map business was being valued at minus $20. Buffett eventually purchased 23% of the company's outstanding shares as an activist investor, obtaining a seat for himself on the board of directors, and allied with other dissatisfied shareholders to control 44% of the shares. To avoid a proxy fight, the board offered to repurchase shares at fair value, paying with a portion of its investment portfolio. 77% of the outstanding shares were turned in. Buffett had reaped a 50% return on investment in just 2 years. In 1962, Buffett became a millionaire with the success of his partnerships, which by then had grown to 11 entities and held in excess of $7,178,500, of which over $1,025,000 belonged to Buffett. At the start of the year, he merged the various partnerships into the single entity Buffett Partnership Limited, which would be his primary investment vehicle for the remainder of the decade. Buffett invested in and eventually took control of a textile manufacturing company, Berkshire Hathaway. He began buying shares in Berkshire from Seabury Stanton, the owner, whom he later fired. Buffett's partnerships began purchasing shares at $7.60 per share. In 1965, when Buffett's partnerships began purchasing Berkshire aggressively, they paid $14.86 per share, while the company had working capital of $19 per share. This did not include the value of fixed assets, factory and equipment. Buffett took control of Berkshire Hathaway at a board meeting and named a new president, Ken Chase, to run the company. In 1966, Buffett closed the partnership to new money. He later claimed that the textile business had been his worst trade.
Part of the partnership was buying what looked like cheap stocks. Berkshire Hathaway looked like a cheap stock. It was a terrible business. Company that was destined eventually to go out of business, just like every other New England textile company did. It was a mistake.
He then moved the business into the insurance sector, and in 1985, the last of the mills that had been the core business of Berkshire Hathaway was sold. In a second letter, Buffett announced his first investment in a private business, Hochschild Kohn and Company, a privately owned Baltimore department store. In 1967, Berkshire paid out its first and only dividend of 10 cents. In 1969, Buffett liquidated the partnership and transferred their assets to his partners, including shares of Berkshire Hathaway. He lived solely on his salary of $50,000 per year and his outside investment income. In 1973, Berkshire began to acquire stock in the Washington Post Company. Buffett became close friends with Katharine Graham, who controlled the company and its flagship newspaper and joined its board.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
Warren bought into the company without my knowing him. That's why I say luck really plays a role in people's lives. It just does. A lot of people said stiff arm him, he's buying too much stock. He means you no good. And my native instinct was, let's take a look. Let's see what he's like. And everything I learned about him was very good. So I asked him to come and take a look at the company in which he just bought these shares. He had to write me a letter when he owned 5% of the company saying, "Dear Mrs. Graham, I've just bought 5% of your company, and I mean you no harm. And I think it's a great company, and I know it's Graham owned and Graham run, and that's fine with me." And so I got to know him, and I thought, whoa, this guy's really terrific. So after he joined our board, he used to come to board meetings with about 20 annual reports. And he would take me through these annual reports. I mean, it was like going to business school with Warren Buffett.
In 1974, the SEC opened a formal investigation into Buffett and Berkshire's acquisition of Wesco Financial due to possible conflict of interest. No charges were brought. In 1977, Berkshire indirectly purchased the Buffalo Evening News for $32.5 million. Antitrust charges started, instigated by its rival, the Buffalo Courier-Express. Both papers lost money until the Courier-Express folded in 1982. In 1979, Berkshire began to acquire stock in ABC. Capital Cities announced a $3.5 billion purchase of ABC on March 18, 1985, surprising the media industry as ABC was 4 times bigger than Capital Cities at the time. Buffett helped finance the deal in return for a 25% stake in the combined company. The newly merged company, known as Capital Cities/ABC, or Cap Cities/ABC, was forced to sell some stations due to Federal Communications Commission ownership rules. The two companies also own several radio stations in the same markets. In 1987, Berkshire Hathaway purchased a 12% stake in Salomon Inc., making it the largest shareholder and Buffett a director. In 1990, a scandal involving John Gutfreund, former CEO of Salomon Brothers, surfaced. A rogue trader, Paul Moser, was submitting bids in excess of what was allowed by Treasury rules. When this was brought to Gutfreund's attention, he did not immediately suspend the rogue trader. Gutfreund left the company in August 1991. Buffett became chairman of Salomon until the crisis passed.
Okay, I'm Warren Buffett. I was elected interim chairman of Salomon Inc. A few hours ago at a board of directors meeting. I think that it was necessary to step in because I would do whatever was needed to dig out any bit of information about what's happened in the past, and I would do everything I could to make sure that things are exactly right in the future.
This is NBC Nightly News. Good evening. It is the kind of scandal that rocks Wall Street and raises questions about the integrity of our financial institutions.
With the giant securities firm of Salomon Brothers under investigation for improper trading of Treasury bonds.
In 1988, Buffett began buying the Coca-Cola Company stock, eventually purchasing up to 7% of the company for $1.02 billion. It would turn out to be one of Berkshire's most lucrative investments, and one which it still holds.
I drink probably 5 12-ounce Cokes a day, and that's about 700 calories. And I've been doing it more or less all my life. I can't imagine anybody that feels better than I do. I mean, I'm happy. I enjoy life. You know, and I've always wondered if I'd had a twin and he had to eat broccoli and asparagus and Brussels sprouts and done it every day, and I'd been drinking my Coke and eating potato chips, and here's some cookies that also, you know, have 100 calories per ounce. You know, which of us, I think the other guy would be gone. I mean, I think he probably would have committed suicide, actually. And he certainly wouldn't feel as good about life as I do. I feel good every day.
In 1998, Buffett acquired General Re as a subsidiary in a deal that presented difficulties, according to the Rational Walk investment website. Underwriting standards proved to be inadequate, while a problematic derivatives book was resolved after numerous years and a significant loss. Gen Re later provided reinsurance after Buffett became involved with Maurice R. Greenberg at AIG in 2002. During a 2005 investigation of an accounting fraud case involving AIG, Gen Re executives became implicated. On March 15, 2005, the AIG board forced Greenberg to resign from his post as chairman and CEO after New York state regulators claimed that AIG had engaged in questionable transactions and improper accounting. On February 9, 2006, AIG agreed to pay a $1.6 billion fine. In 2010, the U.S. government agreed to a $92 million settlement with Gen Re, allowing the Berkshire Hathaway subsidiary to avoid prosecution in the AIG case. Gen Re also made a commitment to implement corporate governance concessions, which required Berkshire Hathaway's chief financial officer to attend General Re's audit committee meetings and mandated the appointment of an independent director. In 2002, Buffett entered an $11 billion worth of forward contracts to deliver U.S. dollars against other currencies. By April 2006, his total gain on these contracts was over $2 billion. Buffett announced in June 2006 that he would gradually give away 85% of his Berkshire holdings to 5 foundations in annual gifts of stock. Starting in July 2006, the largest contribution going to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In 2007, in a letter to shareholders, Buffett announced that he was looking for a younger successor, or perhaps successors, to run his investment business.
For one thing, he's a good friend. I mean, he's the sort of person you can count on to take care of anything that comes up and to take care of your interests as well as his own. I mean, he's a first-class human being, and there's a lot of smart people in this world, but some of them do some very dumb things. He's a smart guy that'll never do a dumb thing. I've never heard him say anything that didn't make sense. And so when we talk about a deal, he sees the essence of it and puts it all together. And then if we do something with it, he runs it right. That's enormously important.
39.80 on the S&P 500. That was October 10th intraday low. A number of traders watching.
Just a note on those circuit breakers. Just want to point out here that the NASDAQ does use the same circuit breaker as the NYSE in case there was any question regarding that. NASDAQ, as we said, fully open, down 6%. That is a loss of 100 points.
The Dow cratering an unprecedented 1,000 points just minutes after the opening bell.
It gives you a little butterflies in your stomach.
Even veteran traders stunned by the drop. The Dow now down more than 1,600 points in just 5 days.
Buffett ran into criticism during the subprime mortgage crisis of 2007 and 2008, part of the Great Recession starting in 2007, that he had allocated capital too early, resulting in suboptimal deals. Buy American, I am, he wrote for an opinion piece published in the New York Times in 2008. Buffett called the downturn in the financial sector that started in 2007 poetic justice. Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway suffered a 77% drop in earnings during Q3 2008, and several of his later deals suffered large mark-to-market losses. On September 23, 2008, Berkshire Hathaway acquired 10% of perpetual preferred stock of Goldman Sachs. Some of Buffett's put options, European exercise at expiry only, that he wrote sold, were running at around $6.73 billion mark-to-market losses as of late 2008. The scale of the potential loss prompted the SEC to demand that Berkshire produce a more robust disclosure of factors used to value the contracts.
Dow Chemical buying specialty chemicals maker Roman Haas for $78 a share, or more than $15 billion.
Buffett also helped Dow Chemical pay for its $18.8 billion takeover of Rome and Haas. He thus became the single largest shareholder in the enlarged group with his Berkshire Hathaway, which provided $3 billion, underlining his instrumental role during the crisis in debt and equity markets. In 2008, Buffett became the richest person in the world, garnering a total net worth estimated at $62 billion by Forbes and at $58 billion by Yahoo, dethroning Bill Gates, who had been number one on the Forbes list for 13 consecutive years. In 2009, Gates regained the top position on the Forbes list, with Buffett shifted to second place. Both of the men's values dropped to $40 billion and $37 billion, respectively. According to Forbes, Buffett lost $25 billion over a 12-month period during 2008-2009.
I just wish Mrs. B was around to see this today. I mean,
yeah, how well it's done.
It just
mind-blowing. So this is July 5th, 1991. We didn't know why we were meeting each other until we met each other.
Exactly.
We thought our domains did not overlap.
In October 2008, the media reported that Buffett had agreed to buy General Electric, GE, preferred stock. The operation included special incentives. He received an option to buy 3 billion shares of GE stock at $22.25 over the 5 years following the agreement. And Buffett also received a 10% dividend, callable within 3 years.
First days of October of 2008, and GE had been funded with extraordinary amounts of commercial paper, and the commercial paper market ended, and they really had a problem, and there was no question in my mind that it would be temporary if the government got its act together and the economic engine got back on the tracks, which I was sure it would. And so we did buy a $3 billion worth piece of preferred with some warrants.
It came with a 10%. It came with a 10%.
It came with a 10% coupon callable 110.
In February 2009, Buffett sold some Procter & Gamble company and Johnson & Johnson shares from his personal portfolio. In addition to suggestions of mistiming, the wisdom in keeping some of Berkshire's major holdings, including the Coca-Cola Company, which in 1998 peaked at $86, raised questions. Buffett discussed the difficulties of knowing when to sell in the company's 2004 annual report. That may seem easy to do when one looks through an always clean rearview mirror. Unfortunately, however, it's the windshield through which investors must peer, and that glass is invariably fogged. In March 2009, Buffett said in a cable television interview that the economy had fallen off a cliff. Not only has the economy slowed down a lot, but people have really changed their habits like I haven't seen. Additionally, Buffett feared that inflation levels that occurred in the 1970s, which led to years of painful stagflation, might reemerge.
It's fallen off a cliff, and not only has the economy slowed down a lot, people have really changed their behavior like nothing I've ever seen.
In 2009, Buffett invested $2.6 billion as a part of Swiss Re's campaign to raise equity capital. Berkshire Hathaway already owned a 3% stake, with rights to own more than 20%. Also in 2009, Buffett acquired Burlington Northern Santa Fe Corp. For $34 billion in cash and stock. Alice Schroeder, author of Snowball, said that a key reason for the purchase was to diversify Berkshire Hathaway from the financial industry. Measured by market capitalization in the Financial Times Global 500, Berkshire Hathaway was the 18th largest corporation in the world as of June 2009. In 2009, Buffett divested his failed investment in ConocoPhillips, saying to his Berkshire investors, "I bought a large amount of ConocoPhillips stock when oil and gas prices were near their peak. I in no way anticipated the dramatic fall in energy prices that occurred in the last half of the year. I still believe the odds are good that oil sells far higher in the future than the current $40 to $50 price. But so far, I have been dead wrong. Even if prices should rise, moreover, the terrible timing of my purchase has cost Berkshire several billion dollars." The merger with the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway, BNSF, closed upon BNSF shareholder approval during Q1 of 2010. This deal was valued at approximately $44 billion, with $10 billion of outstanding BNSF debt, and represented an increase of the previously existing stake of 22%. In June 2010, Buffett defended the credit rating agencies for their role in the U.S. financial crisis, claiming, "Very, very few people could appreciate the bubble. That's the nature of bubbles. They're mass delusions." On March 18, 2011, Goldman Sachs was given Federal Reserve approval to buy back Berkshire's preferred stock in Goldman. Buffett had been reluctant to give up the stock, which averaged $1.4 million in dividends per day, saying, "I'm going to be the Osama bin Laden of capitalism. I'm on my way to an unknown destination in Asia where I'm going to look for a cave." If the U.S. Armed Forces can't find Osama bin Laden in 10 years, let Goldman Sachs try to find me. In November 2011, it was announced that over the course of the previous 8 months, Buffett had bought 64 million shares of International Business Machine Corp., IBM stock, worth around $11 billion. This unanticipated investment raised his stake in the company to around 5.5%, the largest stake in IBM alongside that of State Street Global Advisors. Buffett had said on numerous prior occasions that he would not invest in technology because he did not fully understand it. So the move came as a surprise to many investors and observers. During the interview, in which he revealed the investment to the public, Buffett stated that he was impressed by the company's ability to retain corporate clients and said, "I don't know of any large company that really has been as specific on what they intend to do and how they intend to do it as IBM." In May 2012, Buffett's acquisition of Media General, consisting of 63 newspapers in the southeastern U.S., was announced. The company was the second newsprint purchase made by Buffett in 1 year. Interim publisher James W. Hobson announced on July 18, 2013, that the Press of Atlantic City would be sold to Buffett's BH Media Group by Abarta, a private holding company based in Pittsburgh, U.S. At the Berkshire shareholders meeting in May 2013, Buffett explained that he did not expect to move the needle at Berkshire with newspaper acquisitions, but he anticipates an annual return of 10%.
But we have a number of papers now would indicate that we will meet or beat the 10%. It's not going to move the needle at Berkshire.
The Press of Atlantic City became Berkshire's 30th daily newspaper, following other purchases such as Virginia, U.S. Roanoke Times, and the Tulsa World in Oklahoma, U.S. During a presentation to Georgetown University students in Washington, D.C., in late September 2013, Buffett compared the U.S. Federal Reserve to a hedge fund and stated that the bank is generating $80 billion or $90 billion a year probably in revenue for the U.S. government. Buffett also advocated further on the issue of wealth equality in society. We have learned to turn out lots of goods and services, but we haven't learned as well how to have everybody share in the bounty. The obligation of a society as prosperous as ours is to figure out how nobody gets left too far behind. After the difficulties of the economic crisis, Buffett managed to bring its company back to its pre-recession standards. In Q2 2014, Berkshire Hathaway made $6.4 billion in net profit, the most it had ever made in a 3-month period. On August 14, 2014, the price of Berkshire Hathaway's shares hit $200,000 a share for the first time, capitalizing the company at $328 billion. While Buffett had given away much of his stock to charities by this time, he still held 321,000 shares, worth $64.2 billion. On August 20, 2014, Berkshire Hathaway was fined $896,000 for failing to report as required the December 9, 2013 purchase of shares in USG Corporation. A 2023 ProPublica article, based on a leak of confidential IRS data, alleged that Buffett had made equity trades in his personal portfolio involving companies that Berkshire Hathaway bought or sold during the same quarter or the quarter before, raising concerns about conflicts of interest. On 3 dates between 2009 and 2012, Buffett sold shares of Johnson & Johnson, Walmart, and Wells Fargo, with the sales totaling $80 million in value. Although Buffett has not commented, Berkshire Hathaway's Vice Chairman Charlie Munger dismissed the allegations, saying, "I don't think there's the slightest chance that Warren Buffett is doing something that is deeply evil to make money for himself."
Some exclusive commentary from Berkshire Hathaway on news concerning the company. There was a recent report in ProPublica that suggested that Berkshire Hathaway chairman and CEO Warren Buffett traded stocks in his own portfolio before Berkshire's trades in the same stocks were made public on 3 occasions over a period of almost 2 decades.
I don't think there's the slightest chance that Warren Buffett is doing something that's deeply evil to make money for himself. He cares more about what happens to Berkshire than he cares about what happens to his own money. He's giving all his own money away. He doesn't even have it anymore.
In 1949, Buffett developed a crush on a young woman whose boyfriend had a ukulele. In an attempt to compete, he bought one of the instruments and has been playing it ever since. Though the attempt to capture her attention was unsuccessful, his music interests became a key part of his becoming a part of Susan Thompson's life and led to their marriage. Buffett often plays the instrument at stockholder meetings and other opportunities.
Now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friends, I'll say it clear. I'll state the fact, something or else.
His love of the instrument led to the commissioning of 2 custom Dairy Queen ukuleles by Dave Talsma, one of which was auctioned for charity. In 1952, Buffett married Susan at Dundee Presbyterian Church. The following year, they had their first child, Susan Alice. She was followed by Howard, 1954, and Peter, 1958. The couple began living separately in 1977, although they remained married until Susan's death in July 2004. Their only daughter, Susan, lives in Omaha, is a national board member of Girls, Inc., and does charitable work through the Susan A. Buffett Foundation. In 2006, on his 76th birthday, Buffett married his longtime companion, Astrid Manx, who was then 60 years old. She had lived with him since his wife's departure to San Francisco in 1977. Susan had arranged for the two to meet before she left Omaha to pursue her singing career. All 3 were close, and Christmas cards to friends were signed Warren, Susie, and Astrid. Susan briefly discussed this relationship in an interview on The Charlie Rose Show shortly before her death, in a rare glimpse into Buffett's personal life.
When I was singing at the French Cafe in Omaha, I was the maid of the woman that met you at the door, and she is a very helping, giving person. And between sets, she would always bring me tea, and we'd sit and talk, and we became very good friends. And Astrid is happiest when she is doing something for somebody else. She's just made that way. She's really a good soul.
Buffett disowned his son Peter's adopted daughter Nicole in 2006 after she participated in the Jamie Johnson documentary, The 1%, about the growing economic inequality between the wealthy and the average citizen in the United States. Although his first wife referred to Nicole as one of her adored grandchildren, Buffett wrote Nicole a letter stating, "I have not emotionally or legally adopted you as a grandchild, nor have the rest of my family adopted you as a niece or a cousin." By 2022, Buffett and she had reconciled. His 2006 annual salary was about $100,000, which is small compared to senior executive remuneration in comparable companies. In 2008, he earned a total compensation of $175,000, which included a base salary of just $100,000. In 1958, Buffett purchased a 5-bedroom stucco house in Omaha, where he still lives, for $31,500 United States dollars, equivalent to $352,658 in 2024. He also owned a vacation home in Laguna Beach, California, which he purchased for $150,000 in 1971. He sold it for $7.5 million in 2018. In 1989, after spending nearly $6.7 million of Berkshire's funds on a private jet, Buffett named it the Indefensible, later renamed the Indispensable. This act was at odds with his past condemnation of extravagant spending by other CEOs. Buffett sold the jet prior to mid-1999 and has since usually flown with Berkshire's flight services businesses. Buffett is an avid bridge player, which he plays with Gates and champion player Sharon Osberg. He is said to spend 12 hours a week playing the game. In 2006, he sponsored a bridge match for the Buffett Cup. Modeled on the Ryder Cup in golf, held immediately before it in the same city. The teams are chosen by invitation, with a female team and 5 male teams provided by each country. He is a dedicated, lifelong follower of Nebraska football and attends as many games as his schedule permits. He supported the hire of Bo Pelini following the 2007 season, stating, "It was getting kind of desperate around here." He watched the 2009 game against Oklahoma from the Nebraska sideline after being named an honorary assistant coach. Buffett was elected to the American Philosophical Society in 2009. Buffett worked with Christopher Weber on an animated series called Secret Millionaires Club with Chief Andy Hayward of DIC Entertainment. The series features Buffett and Munger and teaches children healthy financial habits. In December 2006, it was reported that Buffett did not carry a mobile phone, did not have a computer at his desk, and drove his own automobile, a Cadillac DTS. In contrast to that, at the 2018 Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meeting, he stated he uses Google as his preferred search engine. In 2013, he had an old Nokia flip phone and had sent one email in his entire life.
Alexander, it's falling apart as a matter of fact. No, Alexander Graham Bell gave me this.
With your room key in the middle,
yeah, right.
which is black, by the way, so no one knows where you're actually staying, which is good. Alexander Graham Bell.
In February 2020, Buffett revealed in a CNBC interview that he had traded in his flip phone for an iPhone 11. Buffett reads 5 newspapers every day, beginning with the Omaha World Herald, which his company acquired in 2011. Buffett's speeches are known for mixing business discussions with humor.
Now, so let's get on board, fellas.
Each year, Buffett presides over Berkshire Hathaway's annual shareholder meeting in the Quest Center in Omaha, Nebraska, an event drawing over 20,000 visitors from both the United States and abroad, giving it the nickname Woodstock of Capitalism. Berkshire's annual reports and letters to shareholders prepared by Buffett frequently receive coverage by the financial media.
The answer is never bet against America.
Buffett's writings are known for containing quotations from sources as varied as the Bible and Mae West, as well as advice in a folksy, Midwestern style and numerous jokes. In April 2017, Buffett, an avid Coca-Cola drinker and shareholder in the company, agreed to have his likeness placed on Cherry Coke products in China. Buffett was not compensated for this advertisement. Buffett is very distantly related to the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. Buffett was a longtime friend of singer-songwriter Jimmy Buffett until Jimmy's death in September 2023, and they would often refer to one another as Uncle Warren and Cousin Jimmy. The two took a DNA test which revealed no relation. Buffett is a teetotaler. On April 11, 2012, Buffett was diagnosed with stage 1 prostate cancer during a routine test. He announced he would begin 2 months of daily radiation treatment from mid-July. In a letter to shareholders, Buffett said he felt great, as if I were in my normal, excellent health, and my energy level is 100%. On September 15, 2012, Buffett announced that he had completed the full 44-day radiation treatment cycle, saying, "It's a great day for me, and I am so glad to say that's over." In 2008, Buffett was ranked by Forbes as the richest person in the world with an estimated net worth of approximately $62 billion. In 2009, after donating billions of dollars to charity, He was ranked as the second richest man in the United States with a net worth of $37 billion, with only Bill Gates ranked higher than Buffett. His net worth had risen to $58.5 billion as of September 2013. In 1999, Buffett was named the top money manager of the 20th century in a survey by the Carson Group, ahead of Peter Lynch and John Templeton. In 2007, he was listed among Time's 100 most influential people in the world. In 2011, President Barack Obama awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Buffett, along with Bill Gates, was named the most influential global thinker in Foreign Policy's 2010 report. Buffett has written several times of his belief that, in a market economy, the rich earn outsized rewards for their talents. His children will not inherit a significant proportion of his wealth. He once commented, "I want to give my kids just enough so that they would feel that they could do anything, but not so much that they would feel like doing nothing." Buffett had long stated his intention to give away his fortune to charity, and in June 2006, he announced a new plan to give 83% of it to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, BMGF. He pledged about the equivalent of 10 million Berkshire Hathaway Class B shares to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, worth approximately $30.7 billion as of June 23, 2006, making it the largest charitable donation in history, and Buffett, one of the leaders of philanthrocapitalism. The foundation will receive 5% of the total each July, beginning in 2006. The pledge is conditional upon 3 requirements. Bill or Melinda Gates must be alive and active in BMGF. BMGF must continue to qualify as a charity. Each year, BMGF must give away an amount equal to the prior year's Berkshire gift, plus the additional 5% of net assets as required of all U.S. foundations. Buffett joined the Gates Foundation's board, but did not plan to be actively involved in the foundation's investments. Buffett announced his resignation as a trustee of the Gates Foundation on June 23, 2021. This represented a significant shift from Buffett's previous statements, to the effect that most of his fortune would pass to his Buffett Foundation. The bulk of the estate of his wife, valued at $2.6 billion, went there when she died in 2004. He also pledged $50 million to the Nuclear Threat Initiative in Washington, where he began serving as an advisor in 2002. In 2006, he auctioned his 2001 Lincoln Town car on eBay to raise money for Girls Inc. In 2007, he auctioned a luncheon with himself that raised a final bid of $650,100 for the Glide Foundation. Later auctions raised $2.1 million, $1.7 million, and $3.5 million. The winners traditionally dine with Buffett at New York's Smith & Wollensky Steakhouse. The restaurant donates at least $10,000 to Glide each year to host the meal. In 2009, Ralph Nader wrote the book Only the Super Rich Can Save Us, a novel about a movement of billionaires led by Warren Buffett and featuring, among others, Ted Turner, George Soros, and Barry Diller. who used their fortunes to clean up America. On C-SPAN Book TV, Nader said Buffett invited him to breakfast after the book came out and was quite intrigued by the book. He also told Nader of his plan to get billionaires all over the world to donate 50% of their estate to charity or good works. On December 9, 2010, Buffett, Bill Gates, and Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg signed a promise they called the Gates-Buffett Giving Pledge, in which they promised to donate to charity at least half of their wealth and invite other wealthy people to follow suit. In 2018, after making almost $3.4 billion donations, Buffett was ranked third in the Forbes list of billionaires 2018. Buffett continues to help fund and support his family's individual foundations, which include Susan Buffett's Susan Thompson Buffett Foundation, Susan Alice Buffett's Sherwood Foundation, Howard Graham Buffett's Howard G. Buffett Foundation, and Peter Buffett's Novo Foundation. Warren Buffett was also supportive of his sister Doris Buffett's Letters Foundation and Learning by Giving Foundation. In November 2022, Buffett made a donation of $750 million in Berkshire Hathaway shares to 4 charitable foundations run by his children. 1.5 million Class B shares of his conglomerate to the Susan Thompson Buffett Foundation, named after his first wife. He also transferred 300,000 Class B shares each to 3 funds managed by his children: the Sherwood Foundation, the Howard G. Buffett Foundation, and the Novo Foundation. As of 2023, Buffett has given over $50 billion to charitable causes.
you're here at our meeting, be sure to check out our wares, for it's buy all you see at the Berkshire Show.
I have the pleasure of introducing a good man whose great decision is going to change the world, Warren Buffett.